In this week's episode of the Lucky Breaks podcast, we're talking to the team behind the San Diego Cup Pool Tournament Series. Steve, Michael, and Josh share the story of how they adopted the series from its previous owner and developed a shared vision of inclusivity and competitiveness to revive a multi-day pool extravaganza for the San Diego pool community. Learn about their passion for the game and their exciting plans for future events and expanding the reach beyond city boundaries. We hope you enjoy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next edition of the Lucky Breaks podcast. This week, we are here with Michael Fernandez, Josh Watson, and Steve Kwon, the organizers and tournament directors for the San Diego Cup tournament that was held just a few weeks ago. And they're going to talk to us today about what they did with the last San Diego Cup tournament, what they learned, and what they're going to feed into next month's tournament, as this is going to be a series of events that all of us who play pool in San Diego are really excited to participate in. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome to be here.
Yes. All right. All of you have actually been on the podcast before, so it's great to see you back again.
Thanks for having us back as well.
All right. Well, we'll start with you, Steve. Why don't you give the audience a little bit of a rundown of what this event was, maybe a little bit of the background?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who participate in this event is familiar with the Library Cup series, which it was ran by Clint and some of his friends like John Hopkins and Kathy and Diane. And that started when Clint was here and he was doing, I think it was birthdays for himself. Started to do some invitational tournaments, and that just grew and grew and grew to the point where he was just running a full-on from Friday to Sunday for him. Like, it was just day and night of just playing pool. He eventually took a little bit of a break, kind of focusing on himself, because it is a lot to do quarterly tournaments in a different city, because he lives in Texas. So he paused this year in 25, and we kind of picked it up from there.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the format of the weekend. Like, what are the different events? How many players and teams are participating?
Yeah, it's very exciting for us because I think what makes us unique as tournament directors is that we're running 6 different formats across 3 different days, across multiple venues as well too. So the importance of having it be a San Diego Cup is all about inclusion and inclusivity. So we're trying to get as many venues, as many players, as many skill levels out to these tournaments. So we'll have a Banks tournament, we'll have cap tournaments for mid-level players and low-level players. We have open tournaments. So there's a variety of formats that players of all skill levels can get involved with.
So did you ever sort of run a comparison between, like, the last Clint tournament, Library Cup tournament, how many participated in that versus how many participated in your most recent event? It's got to be like twice as many, right?
The first stop, I was very adamant with the 3 of us. I wanted to keep it the same. Exactly the same formats, exactly the same venues, the rules, everything. Just because I wanted to have a smoother transition, because I think Clint's one of those guys who's very charismatic. People love him. And I think anybody who wants to kind of take into that role is filling big shoes. So I wanted to just make that smooth. And I, obviously want to thank Clint for helping us out with that. And to answer your question, it was all the same. Even the turnout, it was fully packed.
Like, you limited the number of, you wanted the size of each event to be about the same as the previous.
Correct.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And how did you 3 get involved with this event? Like, did Clint come to you? Did you guys go to Clint? How'd that work?
I think I can answer that. So to start it off, what you just said about how we kind of pivoted to this, I think it's just there was a desire, there was a need from the players, where I've told these guys quite a bit, if you build it, they will come. I'm a kind of good example of that with the league. I built the league and people just filled it up to who could play. People just want to play. And so when Clint left, there wasn't even like a power grab or vacuum kind of thing. It was just an empty spot there where people were expecting to play some stuff, and they're waiting around and hoping for something to pop up, and it never did. And so I think we were all wanting that. And I don't exactly remember the conversation. I want to say it was Mikey here who is the first one who pitched it, but I know that I think we had all played in Clint's events before, and that was another one of the big things about it is that it was really Clint's tournaments. I know it was called the Library Cup Series, and that's where he had it. And that was one of the things we talked about too. The name change is that because it was the library, but also OnCue was involved for Masters sometimes, and then Pockets for double for some other things. And so I was like, we need a more inclusive name, and that's kind of how we landed on San Diego Cup. And I want to say you were the kind of stalwart of heading up and owning it, right?
Yeah, a part of it. I think for my own experience, I was participating in tournaments, but I felt like there was something that was a little bit missing for me in those tournaments that I was participating in. I missed the community aspect of it. I miss seeing more variety of players, and I really wanted to kind of, again, work with these group of guys to be sure that we can kind of put out the best tournament and product that we could. You know, if I was going to get involved in a big production such as this, I really wanted to align myself with people that would share that kind of same sentiment as well.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it like, here is this product or service you're giving to the community, and you wanted that to be as high quality as possible.
And just to tack on to what he said there, it's changed a bit from some of these tournaments, like in directors trying to have to find a place that's willing to give us tables. And now it's the other way around, where it's them going, oh, okay, we want you here now. We want you to be putting that tournament in our room. And I think it kind of shows the force of the players behind it. Like, yes, we want to play. This is what we want to do. And there'll be some give and take with the rooms, you know, as long as the interest and the player kind of participation doesn't dwindle too much, then we'll have that access, and then they'll have access to the tournaments as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the first event that you held. Remind me of the date, was it? It was right before.
I can't remember.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It's
a blur.
I participated in it too.
I have
I think it was June 17, 18, 19.
It was June,
Yeah, it
right?
was last
Okay.
month.
I think
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so how much time did you have to put into preparing for that?
So we jumped in, what was it, May? Like mid-May?
Late May.
Oh my gosh.
I was talking to Clint, and I was like, who's running it? And he's like, nobody. Like,
He just dropped
somebody
it.
should take it. And that was Michael kind of giving like us the idea and getting an idea of like how we should run it. And it kind of snowballed very quickly from there, because we talked about that, and then he segued into like, oh, there's a SoCal Cup later in it, like Q3 of 25. You're gonna have to talk to Chris Santana about that. And so we started screening this really quick schedule of the year, and we have to get a few stops in so we can qualify for some of the participants in that.
Yeah.
So it really quickly got into going from mid-May, getting everyone registered like a couple weeks before. So we had about 2 weeks lead time. Yeah. And in that time, like the same day, I think I asked you guys like, hey, you guys want to run it? You know, because the three of us are good. We trust each other with everything.
Yeah.
And it was good to have some help from friends, because I don't know how Clint did it by himself.
I don't either. Yeah.
It was a lot.
Well, I have a question about something you mentioned there, the connection between the SoCal Cup. So for the audience who may not know what the SoCal Cup is, can one of you explain what that is?
Yeah, so the SoCal Cup is Southern California in general, but there's been a couple of major tournaments that have been trying to mimic like Moscone-esque kind of team events from different areas coming together. I participated in the Las Vegas when I was living in Las Vegas. I was in the Las Vegas versus SoCal, but all 5 of those players were from SoCal, but they were just Riverside basically. They whooped us. But from the previous one, I know it was like an LA versus Riverside or something like that, or Arizona or something like that. And it was basically all LA or Riverside players versus Arizona, and it was SoCal in quotes, but it's just a name. The moniker, it's not really indicative of where these people are coming from. Same thing for SoCal. It's not all of Southern California, but it's just us giving it a name, and we're basically creating an event to have rival cities and compete with some of our neighboring communities, and expanding the interest locally, I think, in some big events. I think that's really what the basis of it is. And it's also really good exposure for some of the high skill level players who they might be really good pool players in their rooms, but they're not known throughout the region. And so I think this gives them a little bit more what's the word? Just a little bit more
Opportunity.
exposure and
Incentive.
opportunities to, especially for sponsorship and things like that. That this looks big.
Yeah. And I think you are thinking about making the SD Cup events a bit of a qualifier for the SoCal Cup.
Yeah, that's correct. In comparison with Chris Santana's Mez tournaments up in LA, he does his qualifications for the LA team. We do our qualifications through our SD Cup team.
Okay.
The players qualify, and the fifth player being a captain's choice.
Oh, okay.
For both sides.
Oh, cool. So who qualified from the last event?
On
that
our
LJ?
side, it's LJ.
LJ. Okay. So
from
that
last
was
year's.
okay. Got it. Okay. And then on the women's side as well.
Not yet.
Okay.
We have 3 stops this year before the SoCal Cup. We're going by points.
Okay.
Points accrued. Whoever wins that on the ladies master side, that would be the ladies that go and
Okay.
participates in the SoCal Cup.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
And just to give a little bit of context with that as well too, the inception of the San Diego Cup in alignment with SoCal Cup, this is still a bit of a brand new process for us to kind of create a point system, a qualifying system, but now there is a system in place now for, the women's applicant or like the masters applicant or the 500 and under applicant or whatever the criteria is to participate in the SoCal Cup.
Okay.
So I think the San Diego Cup provides that opportunity that kind of was not there before. And it really incentivizes a lot of the players to kind of work towards another goal within their own pool career.
To qualify for that SoCal Cup.
Correct. Because there is exposure to that as well too. It is live stream on YouTube. It's shared between both Good Times Billiards and Pockets Billiards and Brew as well too. So it's kind of a big event. It's end of the year.
And getting bigger.
It is getting bigger.
So are they going to open it up to different formats like doubles and things like that?
I think with last year being the first year of its inception, this year will be the first year it'll be in San Diego. It was hosted in Los Angeles last year at Good Times Billiards. So here we're featuring Pockets Billiards and Brew. And, it's one of those things where the collaboration between both venues and venue owners kind of will, figure out from there where the tournament will go from here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, okay.
It can expand that way.
Okay.
I think the higher probability is we're going to see more cities involved. We're going to see like NorCal being involved or Central
I love
California being involved.
Yeah.
Because you got Hard Times up in Sacramento. We have a good layer of players out of Bakersfield in San Francisco that are coming from there.
Yeah.
So there's different regions that we can start thinking about. It just hasn't that talk hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But I think it will eventually.
Yeah, I'm probably getting us sidetracked. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, on that, exactly what he said, that kind of transient kind of players who are like, oh, I want to go and experience something from this county. Me and Steve went up together to that the LA Mess tour for one of their events. I don't know if you've been to a couple of them, right?
3 or 4.
But I've gone to one. But I never would have known about it if it weren't for the cup and it weren't for their good exposure and promotion of it. And so it was a good experience, and we're hoping to do the same. We've already got a player right from Long Beach that we said just signed up coming down. So that's probably the furthest I think right now.
Yeah.
But that I think that's at least a good sign of the direction we're going.
Yeah. I played in the West Coast Women's Tour recently up in Berkeley.
Nice.
Yeah. And while I was there, I was actually talking about the podcast, but I was also saying like, hey, maybe we should like do a mashup for the women's tours, because we have a San Diego Women's Tour and they have the West Coast Women's Tour, which is West Coast, but it's really a NorCal thing. So I have designs on doing something there too.
It's one of the difficult things about that. A lot of the players don't want to travel if the money's not right.
Right.
And if they don't feel like they can. If they feel like they're strong within their range and the money's right, then they'll do it. If it's just like local tournament level prices, then they're like, is it really worth it or something? They don't. Some people just care about the experience, and some people just care about the money. Some people care about it all. Some people care about the exposure. some people just want to play the best and maybe beat or get beat by the best. That's all it is. So it depends on the players in that case.
And I want to kind of tie that in with our, like, we did increase some of our entry fees because of that. And like, I know historically it's been like around the 40s to 60s range for a lot of the tournaments, but we bumped it up because the inclusivity of everybody being involved, other people from other town, like out of town, come in here, and they see the payout of what we're trying to propose. That becomes a little bit more enticing in a way. So they can see that and think, oh yeah, I have a chance of making $1,000 for one of these tournaments.
Yeah.
That'd be a great weekend for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And enjoy my time in San Diego.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's transition to talking about the event itself. And why don't you tell us how it went? Like, what were some of the highlights? What was, what worked out really, really well?
You
Who
have
wants to
probably
start?
the best oversight about that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest jumps that we had previous from the Library Cup series to now the San Diego Cup series is we included a live stream aspect to the tournament. So it was, I think that presence, that online presence is great because it kind of adds a little bit of credibility and validity to the tournaments in and of itself. It also takes it is a local tournament, but now that the exposure is, on YouTube or on social media, it gives it a little bit more precedence in that sense. So I think that was kind of one of the big accomplishments that I personally wanted to pursue with the San Diego Cup, is ensuring that there's a presence of it online and accessibility to our players, our formats, and just kind of what we're doing within those 3 days to a lot more of a bigger, wider audience.
Yeah, that's true. That was a great addition. What else?
I think the some of our huge goals have really been hit. Thanks to these guys, really. I feel like I rode your coattails through this a little bit.
Oh, no.
But,
So humble.
But one of my biggest, funnest events that I love is the banks, and I love that going off so smoothly. I like that he didn't mention all the legwork he's done, like, to make this go well. He created his own actual chips, and like I did like one row and said I helped, but they did how many? 200, 400, like
800 total.
Oh Jesus, 800
times 2 because it's both sides.
800 of chips that they've created so that the
you
players
made?
can have the physical chips. Like when we're playing the bank pool tournament, that's a little thing that, like, we had chips before, but it's something to make it his own and make it our own kind of thing that he really went out of his way. That's something, that little thing goes a long way for the players, and then it expanding the kind of field and making it more accessible. There's a lot of different things that I think have made this successful, and it will continue to be successful because of that. So it's really good to see that like I mentioned it early on, the flexibility of the players. Yes, if you build it, they will come, but it's got to be good. They're not just going to play any old tournament just because it's made. So he's really gone a long way to make something that's accessible and playable and fun for these players. And so thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
No, please. To go off on that as well too. I think my highlight of the whole experience as well too is working with these guys, because we kind of are experienced in our own, in our own way of kind of bringing our best skill set to this tournament series, right? So we can all kind of expand on what we kind of provide to the tournament, but it works out well because we all bring something to the table, but ultimately the common denominator is that we're all very passionate about bringing pool to the community. And I think as long as we stay focused on that we'll always put out the best product that we can, if possible.
Yeah, for sure.
My highlight of all this was the people saying thanks to us for bringing this back, or even having a tournament to participate in. And it's a lot of work. It really is. I never would have done it if these guys didn't join me, to be totally frank. And they do, and they're amazing. And but to hear, like, a personal thank you from someone is pretty much why we do it.
Yeah.
So it's my favorite part of everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Whenever someone said they had fun, That's the most simplest compliment, or the most simplest like way of just expressing that they had a good time. Because, you know, if you're not familiar with some of these tournaments, like people are here for almost 7-8 hours. It's a long day, and there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of, you know, nervous, anxious energy. But at the end of the day, when they come up to you and say, you know what, I had a really good time today, it really puts a nice little bow on everything. And, you know, we can't thank everyone enough for, you know, really expressing that and showing their appreciation and, you know, just kind of love for that.
Well, and as a participant in the event as well, and if I haven't thanked you before, thank you again for doing it. And I think I was at the library for probably 12 hours. I mean, I was there in the morning for the doubles, and then I was there for the fives. And I'd gone to the library, and this is not a knock on Clint's tournaments at all, but it felt, I don't know, it felt a little bit different. It felt, maybe it was having the live stream there and that sort of seriousness of it. It felt important to do it, and I loved it. Obviously, yeah. I mean, It helps that I won.
Yeah.
No,
Please.
Glad.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, champion.
You're talking to a champion here, a San
in
Diego
the doubles,
Cup
I
champion.
had help, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, we put a lot of work in the back end, meaning. So I played Clint's tournaments. I played other tournaments, and we wanted to streamline it in the beginning, meaning we will do the legwork the night before. Mm-hmm. We know who's going to participate. We know who's in the Calcutta. We know everyone that's going to be there in the morning. We're going to make those brackets, and then as soon as those doors open at 10:30, we just want you to make sure you check in with us, and then the game starts at 11.
Yeah.
So that was very important to me, as the most valuable common denominator that we all have is time. And I don't want to take that away from anybody. So if you're going to be there, we're going to help you start at the same time that we promoted or advertised.
Yeah, keep it moving. That's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about that we just mentioned, the streamlining that, you know, there's a lot of tournament directors and league operators that take huge chunks and whatnot out of the pot and stuff for their own times. Like these guys, they're not working for the money, they're working for the players and their enjoyment, entertainment over there, and they're not taking any kind of crazy chunk out of this away from the players. If anything, we're just asking for something for greens fees and stuff, so that the rooms are taken care of, that allow us to keep doing that. And like, I think I would say it's a thankless job until Mike said that we do get thanked, but that's the payment, honestly.
The reward.
Is just creating that event for those players and seeing them come to it and flock to it and participate and have fun, make their money, they go home, and they had a good day.
Yeah.
You know, whether they win or lose, well, obviously not everybody is gonna win and do great, but as long as they believe it was a legitimate event, they feel like it was respectful and like to the game, wasn't like some crazy rule set or money, or they didn't feel robbed, and they also are, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, they felt it was fair.
Yeah,
I guess they felt like they had a fair competition. They tried, whether they did well or not, they can reflect on that, but they don't blame us for a bad time. They don't say this tournament was set up poorly, you know, and that's something that, like, I think we all struggled to make sure, like, okay, are the numbers right? Is everyone like appreciating this kind of event? And
yeah,
I think it did go off for the most part. Let's say 98% of the people.
Yeah, nothing's ever 100%.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Was there anything that you were worried about going wrong before you went into it, or were you just sort of like, okay, we're ready? You
know what? My biggest kind of concern, if it was a concern, is just essentially getting the buy-in from the community. Like, you know, it's one thing to have Clint hold these tournaments, and, you know, it's kind of like a legacy tournament in that sense, because it's his name is attached to it. Now you have 3 guys coming into this claiming that they'll give you the same exact product, but, you know, we can give the same product, but are we also going to deliver as tournament directors, or, you know, that same sense of, oh, I trust these guys, can I buy into what they're selling, and is this something that I can potentially invest in more in the future? Yeah. So I think that was my biggest concern, is that we weren't going to fill up the brackets, and the signups weren't going to be as fast, because we obviously know that historically Clint's tournaments filled up within 1 minute.
I was so over it. By the end, I was like, I can't. This is too stressful. I can't do it.
It's a fun expectation to try and achieve at some point, but I think again that takes time. That takes a lot of effort to build that credibility with the community and making sure that we get their feedback, their buy-in, and that we listen to that as well too. So I think it's super important to take in feedback in that sense.
Yeah. We just had registration open yesterday.
Yeah, for the next one.
And I was worried because we changed a lot. We changed venues, we changed cap sizes, we changed
fees, entry fees.
Fees. A lot has changed, right? And that's part of the reason why I wanted the first stop to be exactly the same, so people know, and then kind of transition into now there's a new phase coming in, more payouts, bigger caps. I think the biggest concern for a lot of people when they sign up and people freaking out, it's like, if I don't sign up in the first minute at 5 o'clock, I'm not going to get a spot, right? So we increased that cap to 64 teams. And we're close. Last I checked, we were, I don't know, like 80% filled.
Yeah.
Where's the doubles going to be?
At Pockets.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
So Pockets, Billiards, and Brews. And because of that, I feel like there's a lot less tension because people either, directly message me or these guys and say, hey, am I in? And our easy answer is yes, like we got you basically.
Yeah.
I think that was a very important part of kind of alleviating some of the anxiety. But it's also fun to see like all the crazy signups in the first 10 minutes, honestly.
I didn't notice that it was a different field size. So I was there at my computer at 5 o'clock last night going like, I better get in.
Oh, thank you.
Because I need to defend my title.
That's right.
Mine and Rich's title. It wasn't just me.
No.
Well, so let's talk about maybe what you might tweak, or what did you learn from the last event that maybe didn't go as well as you thought, and you're going to maybe change something next time.
I do think there are going to be changes from the last event to this next one. We do want to keep some of those a bit of a surprise as well too. But I think the important aspect is knowing that you can always improve on the product that you have. And again, it's based off of the feedback. It's based off of what we have learned personally and the experience that we've had before, during, and after the event as well too. So I think what a lot of people don't really see is that, we talk a lot. Like poor Josh is getting texts like early in the morning, super late at night.
7 a.m. Yes.
And it's mostly me just being like, hey guys, checking in and what's going on today. This is what I'm doing. And, and not only do we have to fit that into our own professional lives.
You probably have jobs outside of this, right? Things to do.
It's a lot of responsibility, but again, it's fun because it's with these guys, and again, they share the same passion. And, so any changes or updates or improvements that we do make on the next one is not just something that comes out of the blue. It's something that we've fairly discussed. We've even gone through maybe some tech runs or some kind of, examples of how this may work out, hypothetically what would work or doesn't work. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And, we just can only hope that the public will embrace it and learn to appreciate kind of what comes forward at the next stop for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
I think something that I was a part of the problem in this last case where I realized having dedicated and backup tournament directors for the event. I myself had a medical issue and I had to step away. And these guys have families, they have got homes, they've got places to be. They can't be all places all the time and for multiple venues, multiple events, and they were depending on me for that.
Yeah.
And I apologize again to these guys because I hate how much I felt like I let them down in that moment. Obviously, they're understanding and they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't, but no. So
give him a hard time.
No, but like it feels terrible, and I'm like, crap. Now I'd let them down, and I'm gonna let the entire tournament down. And how does the money situation work, especially when you're handling other people's money, as we all have in this case, is that they need security on that. And when one of us is taken out or something of this mix as partnership, which is, again, I echo what he said. I don't know how Clint did so much of this on his own.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's hard enough, like with 3 people, much less one. And so when we take a leg out from under us, it's like we need to depend on the community and each other to pick up some of that slack. So I think having the backup tournament directors and having some fail safes in place is going to be a learning experience there, ensuring kind of the trust and confidence in us and the in the players and in their player fund, and all where their money's going and where it's going back to. That transparency and everything is really important to them, I've noticed. So that's something I think for this stop and next stop that we should have in place already.
Yeah. Two things that reminds me of. One, I noticed you had sort of others helping out. So Carmen, for example, helped out a lot. And that's the great thing about this community in San Diego is that, so many of us are excited to help out each other because it is a community. We're doing this for each other and participating and things like that. So that's, you can always lean on any of us, I think, to handle that
thank you.
sort of thing.
Taking applications.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, people love if we're putting on a good show, then they want to keep us well fed. They want to keep us well plied with aiming juice, and
yes.
then they want to be useful. They want to help too, and they see what we're doing. And when it's community driven, like Michael said, then it's going to create more like a comfortable place for them to be in, and they want to be around it more. They want to do more, even if they're, like we said, even if they lose out, they go 0-2, they still want to be there because a happy community is there playing pool, and they just want to spend some time with some people in these venues, and the venues have appreciated that because of it.
And they're staying for the Calcutta, the live Calcuttas or the break pot.
And raffles.
Yeah, and the raffles and things like that. So.
Yeah. I want to say personal thank yous to John Hopkins and Dan Hicks. Dan helped us with running the ladies.
I remember.
He was there and he did an amazing job. You guys were done you started at 9 and finished at 1, which is like unheard of.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was due to Dan.
It was a race to 2.
Yeah, it was a race. It was a race to 2, but then also Dan he doesn't need a microphone. He can just yell at you, and I think that helps. And then same with John helping us with the Calcutta auction. So we love people offering help, and we always try to find ways how we can put them in a situation where they can help us. And where it's just fair for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put someone in a TD spot and say, like, here you are for 12, 14 hours, which it's a long day. It's a long time to just sit there. So we try to figure out ways to kind of break things up and make it fair for everybody else.
I just had a great idea for next time. Speaking of help, if you want the Lucky Breaks podcast to help.
Oh. Wow.
Maybe. I don't know. Okay, this is completely
Don't entice Michael with a good time because he loves to commentate.
I've been thinking about doing some Billy on the Street type interviews.
Oh, okay.
And we could like bring the equipment and do some Billy on the Street style interviews of people at pockets.
That's a great idea.
During the doubles, and even after they won, after they lost. I don't know. Something like that.
Never, just personal experience. Try to never interview somebody right after they lost.
You've said that before.
Try to never do that.
I mean,
as somebody who's been interviewed right after I lost, it's not fun. You want to start breaking stuff, and the nearest thing to you is a camera, and I don't want you.
Okay.
I'll
let them come to me.
That's a fantastic point that Sue made too, because I like the aspect of us just being more than just the pool tournament. We're a kick it hangout spot for everyone who wants to just socialize as well too. We're providing opportunities back to the community. Like I think we've enlisted a photographer for the next tournament so that they could bolster their portfolio for the event. So we'll have them around, which again, some more surprises coming up in regards to that.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that we can use this platform as a way to, again, provide opportunities for the community who are also passionate about pool to, bring their best out, not just on the table, but outside of the table as well too.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to make a quick note, you were on a little thank you thing. I want to thank Jared Pitts because he was on the commentary for our Balboa 4 and unders for our finals, and he did such a fantastic job, and he was on the mic for a couple hours, and he did great. So thanks, Jared.
Yeah, the commentary is really a fun aspect too of both like of like my Colt streams and things like that. So I think we should do some more of that.
And I know we named some names, but there are a lot of other people too that like just those little things, like you said, little thank yous, bringing us a water, bringing us a drink, food, making sure, watching just the bracket for half a second so we can use the bathroom or something.
Thank you, Carmen.
There were a lot of people.
Carmen.
Thanks, Carmen. Doing a lot of that in between that really made it just that little bit easier.
Yeah.
Where it's a little bit less stress on us, and they're like, because what they did in the moment, like, it might not seem very big, it was big in to make the production go smoother. So
Yeah.
thanks everybody.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you. Well, let's see. Have we missed anything? Like, I think the next event is August 23rd, if I recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about some of the I know you said there's some secrets. Is there anything you're willing to reveal that the players should know
Well, maybe
about?
you could share. You could
Yeah.
also share how many people have signed up so far too.
Yeah, I think so. I will say we just looked at the numbers today for the most recent sign up for the event next month. And after just being out for a day, we've already filled up more than half of our fields for all of our formats.
Oh, fantastic.
So if you have not yet signed up or if you're not yet paid, this would be the perfect opportunity to really kind of get in there. I know this video probably will come out a couple weeks after, but essentially the whole the whole point of the story is to be able to sign up as quickly as possible. If you find a format that you do like, or a partner that you do want to take this opportunity to join a tournament for, this would be the time to do it. And yeah, I think I'm very much excited about this next stop, only because I feel like we do have a little bit more time to put out the best product and production that we possibly could as well too. And we're now more kind of comfortable in our rules. So we're really bringing our best to this tournament stop. And essentially it'll, be the tournament stop prior to SoCal Cup in October as well too. So there's just kind of a lot going on with this tournament, but we're looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Hopefully I get a repeat on the doubles, but
It's a bigger field.
I
but
know it's
mean,
going to be tough.
It'll be tough, but I think, and I think you can attest to it too. Like, the competition is great, and you're
Yeah.
able to really kind of, it's a unique format in that sense. So,
Yeah.
as now a champion of the series, which again is more surprises coming later on. I'm sure that's kind of one thing I really want to focus on as well too, is really elevate those who take the time and work hard and actually, put their best competition forward, is to really kind of elevate that. Hey, Sue, you are a champion of San Diego Cup, of the summer series or stop one, whatever the case may be. And
Yeah.
it's just taking that over the line when it comes to like local tournaments. If we want to be a more credible tournament, or we want to be in line with things that are kind of mainstream right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the energy in this community is it's really amazing to watch just over the course of this
great.
year. It's through a lot of different things, both these events, the podcast, the streaming, all of that. Just feels like there's a groundswell of energy around amateur pool in San Diego. So it's exciting to see.
I think that all stems from its origin. It doesn't come from a place of a local bar trying to create a $5, $10 tournament just to get people in the room for a couple of hours and boost their sales. That's not where it came from, And I think that it really shows through, and why yourself and several other players just enjoyed the competition and the spirit of it. It's because of that. Just increase the visibility of the competition from what was already established beforehand, taking it, molding it into our own, and adding to, and not taking away any of the elements that made it successful.
Yeah.
My efforts is trying to make this as appealing to people from other cities as possible. One of the major changes that we made was making this into a Fargo perspective. Using your Fargo as our primary indicator, and then also combining that with APA, because let's be honest, San Diego is very heavily APA'd. But also, I want to open the eyes of some players that are just kind of sheltered here in San Diego and say, oh, if I can participate in this 500 and under, where else can I also participate in 500 and under? Because everywhere else is going by Fargo.
Yeah.
So I wanted to provide some of that insight to those players and say, hey, let's venture out, see what's out there. Because we live in this small world, in this niche sport of pool. We should really help each other. I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of that doesn't happen. I want to have a community where it's as uplifting as us in San Diego, as well as everyone else. Because I love going to LA, seeing Chris playing the Mez, and also going to Vegas, playing the BCA or APA or whatever it is. And we're talking about going to different cities and playing Ultimate Pool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
just
cool.
See what is out there, what formats are there, and how we can bring that back to San Diego.
Yeah.
So it invigorates us to learn and have a little bit more passion to do that, and then bring it back here and then spread the love and see how it goes.
Yeah. And make sort of a bigger, broader community as well. Even like this California stuff is even expanding our community beyond our own city borders.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
that's cool. Amazing.
Yeah, just to echo that, when all y'all get to be my age, you stop thinking about just playing and you start thinking about all the other ways you can be involved in the community. And so that's exactly why I started the league and things like that, and why I started coaching and why I started involving myself in all these other ways, that making myself more accessible to players as well as a coach. And then I think it just boosts visibility, and that's just like a personal drive thing. But this whole tournament series has just really brought it to another level.
Yeah, this is a good time for a plug. So Josh does coaching. Is there a name for it? Is it just like
I had a
joshching.com?
Facebook page to coach Josh Watson, whatever. I don't really put any effort into it. I've just molded that into my personal page now, because I was like, it's just who I am. It's not a separate, that's who I am and what I do.
I want people to know, like, they can go to you, learn the basics. So there's your coaching, your BCA league that you're running on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
That's right.
And possibly Friday, I think.
We got a flyer out. There's been minimal interest so far. It's just a working day, and during working time, so it's not as easy, but it's possible. So there's that, and then I'm open to expanding that to other days and rooms and whatnot as well. We've got one possibly expanding out to instant replay right now as well.
Oh, nice.
So there's a couple of other things, and it's just going to slowly grow, I think. Same thing for our tournament and whatnot.
That's good.
Kind of what I got going on.
Yeah, I'm glad that's helping. And then also Mike's Fernandez's page. It used to be average, but now it's awesome.
He got enough
The
complaints
secret's out.
because we knew he wasn't.
Yeah, that was false advertising.
Yeah. Jeez, talk about credibility.
Sandbagging his name, yeah.
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook and on YouTube as the Awesome San Diego Pool Player, where we do stream local challenge matches, and it's just documenting my journey within this pool community, and we're expanding out and doing more. So we're working alongside the San Diego Cup to help live stream for the weekend as well. And I do want to also especially thank Lucky Breaks Podcast, because initially when I first started on this podcast, I was just remote at my home. And then when Sue asked me, do I take my production outside? I was like, no, because it's a lot of work. But working alongside San Diego Cup and getting that motivation from the feedback I got from Sue and Aaron, we've kind of grown now too to include long 12-hour live streams of
That's amazing.
the tournament with commentary, with graphics, and so we're just growing as well too. So that's Awesome San Diego Pool Player on YouTube and on Facebook.
Nice. What about you, Steve? Anything you're promoting?
I got nothing.
What?
I do this because I love this game.
Okay.
That's it. Mirroring what I said earlier, I like the community together, playing, having fun. That to me is the most important piece. It's almost as good as like taking my kids to Disneyland and watching them have fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I just do this because I make time to play pool anyways. Why not try to make something a little bit bigger and have a lot more people happier that way?
And share the love. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
for sure. Well,
Can I take one quick moment to also thank our sponsors for the tournament, Town Billiards, Jam Up Apparel, BQ, as our raffle sponsors, and then our venue sponsors as well too, which include the Break Room, the Library, Pockets Billiards and Brew, and now On Cue Billiards as well. So thank you to all the venues, the staff, and the venue owners for really trusting us to hold tournaments at their place. It's a very big ask, so we genuinely thank you for that.
yeah, thank you. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Lucky Breaks podcast. We may publish this next Friday, so it'll be in time to advertise the event and get more signups.
That sounds great.
All
Thanks
right.
for having us.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
us.
Thank you. See you next time.
That wraps up another episode. A big thank you to our guest for joining us today and sharing their story. If you want to connect with our guest, their contact info can be found in the show notes for this episode. Also, please show your support by liking and subscribing.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Lucky Breaks podcast. You can find more episodes at youtube.com/@luckybreaks-podcast or by searching for Lucky Breaks on your favorite podcast player. This episode was produced by Sue Leader and Aaron Schulman. Thank you for your support. Sign up to be a guest on a future episode from our YouTube channel page.